At a certain age, the things we keep start to shape the life we live. What once felt like comfort can quietly turn into a burden. A closet full of memories becomes a hallway of obstacles. A drawer of just in case becomes a drawer of never again. And the truth no one talks about? Clutter does not just fill your home, it begins to fill your mind, your heart, your time, your energy. It holds you in the past when what you truly need, now more than ever, is space to breathe, to move, and to live fully in the present. This is not about cleaning. This is about claiming your freedom. If you are over 60, there are 7 truths you need to hear. 7 powerful rules to let go of what no longer serves you and finally create a home that reflects the woman you are today. Stay with me, because one of these may not just change your home, it may change your life. Rule 1. If you haven't used it in a year, let it go with love. There is something deeply personal about the things we keep. Every dish, every folded sweater, every item tucked away in a drawer, it all tells a story. But what happens when the stories we hold on to start getting in the way of the life we're trying to live now? Margaret had a kitchen cabinet full of baking supplies. She used to love making peach cobbler from scratch. Her husband always said it was better than any bakery. The rolling pin, the old sifter, even the pie dish with the crack down the middle. She kept it all. Not because she needed it, but because it reminded her of him. But here's what she finally realized. Holding on to things from the past doesn't bring the past back. It only makes it harder to live in the present. If you haven't used something in over a year, ask yourself, are you keeping it out of purpose or out of habit? Is it serving the life you're living now or the life you used to live? Margaret hadn't baked a cobbler in 9 years, not since her arthritis made rolling dough too painful. But that pie dish was still taking up space, not just in her cabinet, but in her mind. Letting go with love doesn't mean throwing things away carelessly. It means honoring what they once meant and releasing them with gratitude. Margaret took a photo of the pie dish. She wrote a small note. You held sweet memories and even sweeter desserts. Thank you. Then she passed it on to a neighbor who still loved to bake. And in its place, Margaret put a small basket of herbal teas, something she enjoys every evening now, something that fits the life she's living today. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you make room for peace, for clarity, and for joy. You open up your home and your heart for new moments to arrive. So ask yourself, what have I not used in the last 12 months? What am I holding on to out of habit, fear, or guilt? Let it go, with love, with respect, and with the understanding that your home should reflect who you are now, not who you used to be. Rule 2. Don't let just in case become a lifetime sentence. 3 extra umbrellas, 2 space heaters, 4 crock pots. Margaret didn't think of herself as someone who hoarded things. She thought of herself as someone who was prepared. But there's a fine line between being prepared and being imprisoned by things you don't actually need. She had a drawer full of Tupperware containers, most with missing lids, 3 winter coats that no longer fit, a stack of bed sheets for a guest bed she hadn't had in years. Why keep it all? Just in case. But here's what she realized. Just in case had quietly become her excuse for everything. And those things she thought she was keeping for some possible future? They were slowly stealing her peace in the present. Ask yourself, how many things in your home are there because of just in case? Just in case the kids visit. Just in case you lose weight. Just in case you get back into sewing. Just in case the microwave breaks. But months go by, years go by, and those items never get used. Instead, they sit. They pile up. They create noise. Physical clutter that leads to mental clutter. And without realizing it, you begin to feel crowded in your own space. Margaret took a bold step. She created a just-in-case box. Anything she hadn't used in over a year, but was keeping for an imagined emergency, went in that box, and she made a deal with herself. If I don't pull anything out in the next 30 days, I donate it. By the end of the month, she hadn't opened the box once. Here's the truth. The space in your home is valuable. The peace in your heart is priceless. Don't let the fear of a far-off maybe keep you from enjoying a peaceful now. So take a moment. Walk through your home. Notice the things you're holding on to, just in case. Then ask yourself, have I actually needed this? Or is it just another object I'm afraid to let go of? Because freedom isn't found in being prepared for every possible situation. Freedom is found in living fully in the one you're in right now. Rule 3. Clear walkways, protect your freedom. Margaret never thought much about the hallway between her bedroom and the bathroom. It was familiar, comfortable. She had walked it hundreds, maybe thousands of times. But one winter night, the power went out. She reached for her flashlight. The batteries were dead. So she shuffled in the dark, hand trailing the wall, and then it happened. Her foot caught the edge of a small footstool she had placed there years ago, for convenience. Down she went. A fractured wrist, a bruised hip, 6 weeks of pain and physical therapy, all from one small object she no longer needed, but had learned to ignore. This is what happens when clutter blends into the background. We stop seeing it. But that doesn't mean it stops being dangerous. As we get older, our homes don't just feel smaller, they can become more hazardous. What once felt cozy can turn into a trap of hidden dangers. A low ottoman near the couch, a rug with curled edges near the door, a plant stand by the stairs. Margaret's fall was her wake-up call. When she got home from the hospital, her daughter gently said, "Mom, we're going to do a safety sweep." At first, Margaret resisted. She felt like she was losing control. But the more they walked through the house, the more she began to see. A basket of shoes in the hallway, a coat rack too close to the door, a stack of boxes near the back exit. None of it had seemed dangerous before, but now it all looked like risk. So they started small. They removed the footstool, rolled up the rug, moved the bookshelf back. They added nightlights, brighter bulbs, and grab bars where needed. And with each change, Margaret felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: confidence. She could move through her home without worry. She could breathe easier, walk safer, and live freer. Fall prevention is not about fear. It's about protecting the freedom you still have. Because one bad fall can change everything, not just physically, but emotionally. Independence is precious. Guard it fiercely. So here's your challenge. Walk through your home today. Not tomorrow. Today. Look at your hallways, exits, and stairs. Is there anything that could trip you up or slow you down in an emergency? Start with just one path, the one from your bed to your front door. That is your lifeline. Clear it like your independence depends on it, because it truly does. Rule 4. Memories belong in your heart, not in the closet. Margaret stood in front of the hallway closet, both hands resting on the door handles. She hadn't opened it in a while, at least not all the way. She knew what was inside, and that's exactly why she avoided it. This wasn't just a closet filled with coats or boxes. It was a vault of the past, one she wasn't sure she had the strength to face. Inside were the artifacts of a life lived fully. The jacket her husband wore every fall. A box of greeting cards from birthdays long past. Her daughter's wedding bouquet, now dried and brittle but still tied with the same satin ribbon. There was a photo album from a trip to Italy they took 30 years ago. And in the farthest back corner, tucked carefully behind a stack of shoeboxes, was a small brown box marked simply, "His Things." Margaret had kept that box sealed since the funeral. His watch, his wallet, the little keychain he always carried in his pocket. She told herself she would go through it one day, but one day had turned into 12 years. and every time she saw it, her heart ached with both love and guilt. This is the burden of sentiment. We mistake objects for the people we miss. We convince ourselves that holding on to the thing is the same as holding on to the memory. But the truth is, love is not stored in a shoebox. It lives in our hearts, our stories, the way we smile when we think of them. Margaret finally opened the box, slowly. She picked up the watch and held it in her palm. The battery had long since died, but for a moment, time stood still. She closed her eyes and remembered him checking that watch every Sunday morning before church. She remembered how he always ran 5 minutes behind, and how he would say, "That's just enough time to stop for coffee." And then she did something bold, something freeing. She took a photo of the watch. She framed it with a handwritten note. Always running late, always worth the wait. Then she gave the watch to her grandson. He was graduating high school that year and had always admired his grandfather. The rest of the items? She chose what mattered most and donated the rest. Not in sadness, in peace. You see, you do not need to keep everything to remember something. The memory is already part of you. You carry it. It lives in how you speak their name, how you pass down their values, how you cook the recipe they loved, or sing the song you danced to together. Keeping everything often turns our homes into museums, quiet, untouched, and filled with grief. But you deserve a home that reflects the woman you are now, not just the life you once had. So here's your invitation. Pick one item today that you've kept purely for sentimental reasons. Hold it. Say thank you. Then ask yourself, do I need to keep this to honor the memory? Or can I set it free and still carry the love? You're not letting go of the person. You're simply choosing to honor their memory in a way that allows you to breathe again. Rule 5. Small steps. Still count. Even 15 minutes can change your life. There was a point when Margaret stood in her living room and genuinely didn't know where to begin. The bookshelf was spilling over with old magazines, novels she meant to read, and dusty picture frames. Her side table drawers were filled with expired coupons, tangled cords, batteries that may or may not work, and pens that hadn't written since the Obama administration. The dining room table had become a drop zone for mail, notes, and boxes. She didn't feel lazy. She felt paralyzed. "I'm too far behind," she whispered one morning. "What's the point of even trying?" This is the emotional weight of clutter. It isn't just about objects. It's about the invisible heaviness that builds up when we feel stuck, overwhelmed, and unsure how to move forward. But then her daughter, ever gentle and practical, gave her a gift that didn't come in a box. She gave her a sentence. "Mom, just give it 15 minutes. That's it. One small space. No pressure. Just a little bit of momentum." Margaret was skeptical. What could 15 minutes possibly change? But the next day, she picked the junk drawer in the kitchen. She set her timer, and she gave herself permission to only focus on that drawer. She tossed 7 broken pencils, 5 menus from restaurants that had closed, birthday candles shaped like the number 65. Margaret was now 74, and 2 pairs of reading glasses she didn't even know she had. When the timer beeped, she smiled. The drawer was clean. For the first time in years, something was done. The next day, she chose the linen closet, then the coat rack, then the bathroom cabinet, each time just 15 minutes. Within 2 weeks, she had filled 3 donation bags, tossed 2 boxes of useless clutter, and, most importantly, she no longer felt defeated when she walked through her home. That's the magic of small wins. They give us hope. They remind us that progress doesn't have to be dramatic to be meaningful. You don't need to spend a weekend pulling your house apart. You don't need color-coded bins or a label maker. You just need a kitchen timer and the courage to begin. Clutter builds slowly, but peace can build the same way, step by step. So, if you're listening to this and feeling like your home is too full, too far gone, or just too exhausting to think about, remember this. You don't have to fix it all today. Just choose a drawer, a cabinet, a corner. Set a timer. Give it your full attention for 15 minutes. And then stop. Celebrate that tiny step. Let that little burst of accomplishment carry you into tomorrow. And if tomorrow comes and you still feel overwhelmed, do it again. Just 15 minutes. That's how momentum is built. That's how change becomes possible. Because when you choose movement over perfection, you begin to believe again, not just in the space, but in yourself. Rule 6. You don't need to store other people's memories, especially when they've already moved on. Margaret stood at the bottom of the attic stairs, dreading what waited above. The attic was always too hot in the summer and too cold in the winter. So things went up there and they stayed, for decades. When her children moved out, she boxed up their trophies, their school notebooks, their favorite childhood stuffed animals. She saved their sports uniforms, their yearbooks, and even a pair of ballet shoes her daughter hadn't worn since she was 12. At the time, Margaret told herself it was temporary. They'll want this one day, she thought, and if I throw it away now, they'll be hurt. But the years passed. The children built lives of their own. They got married, had children, moved to other states, and never, not once, did they ask about those boxes. Still, Margaret kept them. Not because anyone told her to, but because she felt guilty not keeping them. If I get rid of this, she thought, holding her son's 5th grade science fair project, am I saying it didn't matter? Am I saying I didn't love that moment? The guilt clung to her like dust in the attic air. Then, one Sunday afternoon, Margaret's daughter came over for tea. They sat in the kitchen, the sunlight pouring in, and Margaret finally brought it up. "Sweetheart," she said quietly, "I've been keeping all your old things. They're still in the attic. I thought maybe one day you'd want them." Her daughter smiled gently, touched her mother's hand, and said something that Margaret would never forget. "Mom, I didn't even remember they were there. If I haven't asked for them in 20 years, I probably don't need them now. You don't have to carry that for me." That moment was a release. It was like someone had given Margaret permission to stop being the keeper of everyone else's past. Because here's what many women over 60 forget. You are not responsible for holding on to other people's memories, especially when those people have moved on. You're not a storage unit. You're a person, living in a home that should reflect your life, your needs, your peace, your present. The next weekend, Margaret went up to the attic. Slowly, carefully, she opened each box. She took photos of the meaningful things, her son's Little League jersey, her daughter's first report card, and sent the pictures in a group message. "If anyone wants these," she wrote, "let me know by next week. Otherwise, I'll be donating what I can." To her surprise, no one asked for anything. Her kids appreciated the gesture, but none of them wanted to take the boxes home. And that's when Margaret made the decision, not from frustration, but from clarity. She donated the toys, recycled the papers, gave away the books. What remained was space, air, light, and the feeling that her home finally belonged to her again. So, here's your gentle challenge. If you're storing items for your adult children, or even your grandchildren, ask yourself, have they asked for these things? Do they even know you're keeping them? And if the answer is no, maybe it's time to let go. Have a conversation. Set a date. Offer the items once. If they don't want them, you don't need to carry the burden any longer. Because the truth is, love doesn't live in a box of old toys. It lives in the phone calls, the hugs, the Sunday dinners, the stories you still share. Letting go of what no longer belongs to you isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's making space to live in the present, not store the past. Rule 7. Let go of guilt. It has no place in the home you're creating now. There was a treadmill in Margaret's bedroom. It sat quietly in the corner, just beyond the nightstand. It had been there for 5 years. Dust had collected on the handles. A sweatshirt had been tossed over it months ago, and now it looked more like a coat rack than exercise equipment. She bought it right after her 72nd birthday. She had big plans, daily walks, staying strong, feeling energized again. But her knees ached more than she expected, and life, as it often does, got in the way. Every morning when she woke up, the first thing she saw was that treadmill. And every morning, she felt the same pang. You should be using that. You spent so much money, you said you would. And that right there was the real clutter. Not the machine, the guilt. Margaret didn't just feel bad for not using it. She felt like she had somehow failed herself, like the machine was proof of a promise broken. But here's what she eventually came to understand, and maybe it's something you need to hear too. Guilt is not a motivator. It's a weight, and it does not deserve to take up space in your home or in your mind. We all have things we bought with good intentions. The sewing machine we thought we'd finally learn to use, the knitting supplies we picked up during the holidays, the yoga mat still rolled up in the back of the closet, cookbooks from a time we thought we'd enjoy trying new recipes, clothes we hoped we'd fit into again, but life changes. Bodies change, priorities shift, and there is no shame in that. Keeping those items out of guilt doesn't make us more disciplined. It doesn't bring back motivation. It only creates a silent, heavy reminder of what we think we should have been, instead of allowing us to honor who we actually are. Margaret decided to reclaim her space. One afternoon, she walked over to the treadmill, placed her hand on it, and said out loud, "Thank you for reminding me I cared about my health, but I'm choosing peace now." She listed the treadmill online and sold it to a younger neighbor who was thrilled to have it. With the empty space it left behind, Margaret moved in a soft reading chair, a floor lamp, and a small table for tea and books. That corner, once filled with guilt, was now her favorite spot in the whole house. You see, your home should not be a monument to what you didn't do. It should be a sanctuary for who you are now. Ask yourself, what in my home makes me feel inadequate every time I look at it? What whispers you should have, or why didn't you, every time I walk by? Now ask yourself something even more important. Do I really want that voice in my home? Letting go of guilt-filled clutter isn't about giving up. It's about giving yourself grace. It's saying, I tried, I changed, and that's okay. Your home should speak kindly to you. It should reflect the life you're living, not the expectations that never quite fit. So today, walk through your space with a new kind of honesty. Identify the things that carry guilt instead of joy, and release them, not with frustration, but with forgiveness. You are allowed to let go of old goals that no longer serve you. You're allowed to change your mind, and you are allowed to create a home that reflects peace over pressure. Because the only should that matters is this: you should feel safe, content, and free in your own space. You deserve that. Nothing less. Margaret didn't declutter her home in a weekend. It took weeks. Some days were easier than others. Some items brought smiles, others brought tears. But slowly, steadily, the piles grew smaller, and the peace inside her grew stronger. She let go of the extra crock pots, the unopened sewing kit, the dusty boxes in the attic. But more importantly, she let go of the weight she didn't even know she was carrying: guilt, pressure, fear, and the constant whisper of what if. Her home isn't bigger now, but it feels more open. It isn't filled with new things, but it is filled with more light. And most of all, it reflects who she is today, not the life she used to have, not the life she thought she should be living, but the one she's in, right here, right now. And that is the whole purpose of these 7 rules. Not to force change, not to judge, but to invite you to return home to yourself. So take your time. Be gentle with your memories. Be honest about your needs. And when you're ready, start small. Start with one drawer, one object, one breath of release. That's how real transformation begins. You're not too late, you're not too old, and your space is still yours to shape into something peaceful, meaningful, and alive. If this video spoke to you, I invite you to share it with a friend. Leave a comment below with one thing you're ready to release, or one rule that touched your heart the most. You never know who you might inspire. And don't forget to subscribe. This channel is a space made just for you, for reflection, growth, and gentle wisdom to help you live your most grounded, joyful years ahead. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm proud of you. And I hope today you take that first small step toward a lighter home and a freer heart.